Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another video in my series recapping and reviewing every book in the Animorphs series. Today is the first video in Animorphs August, which means every week this month you'll be getting a new Animorphs review up in front of your eyes. We're going to go from Animorphs 38 all the way through to Animorphs 41, inching ever closer to being done with the series. So yes, Animorphs 38, this book is called The Arrival, it is an Axe book, and the tagline on the cover suggests we may be getting some more Andalites involved. Alien stuff, always here for it. We open with Axe witnessing some human controllers beating someone up for refusing to tell them something. I say witnessing, more like feeling, as the Animorphs are in roach morph inside a pipe. They're trying to rescue their chi friend, Mr. King, who went into a newspaper to see if it was indeed being run by the Yeerks. It would seem it was, as Mr. King is the one being punched. The controllers are trying to decide what to do. Vista 3 is going to be angry if they kill this guy and leave them without another host body, but they also can't infest this guy. His ears are somehow blocked up. The somehow is that he is an android and cannot be infested, but they don't know that at this point. The pacifism of the chi means it's up to the Animorphs to save them at this point. Mr. King is not going to fight back. The cockroaches emerge from the pipe ready to demorph and kick controller butt. They demorph in some kind of filing cabinet, with Tobias looking on to let them know if the coast is clear. As ever, Axe is going into battle in his Andalite form, as that is the form he knows best, and the Yeerks will apparently never question why there is only ever one Andalite there at any time. The stakes get even higher as the Yeerks have brought enough Draken beams to reduce even an android to a pile of ash. Rachel slams into the wall, on the other side of which is Mr. King, and Marco slams the sheetrock away. Andalites, the two human controllers screamed. The Yeerks believe we are all Andalites. Actually, there was just the one Andalite, me. I felt that would be enough. But is it enough? I feel like this book is going to tell us. Axe, with hindsight, feels like they should maybe have been worried about the dark office behind the room that they're in. But hey, in the moment they need to focus on rescuing Mr. King. The controllers fire with all the accuracy of stormtroopers, and the Animorphs manage to dispatch them fairly easily. Too easily. Yeah, there were Hawk-Bajir in that dark office, along with everyone's favourite villain, Vista 3. This was a trap. Yes, you fell into it. Well done. Vista 3 is an Andalite form, which is obviously a bit disconcerting for Axe, and the two of them begin to fight. Axe gets sliced by the Vista's tailblade, gets hit by Draken beams, it's all looking a bit bad. Jake orders Rachel to get Mr. King out of there just as one of his legs gets shot off. Rachel has a hole put through her, but that's not enough to stop a grizzly. Okay, bail out, Jake ordered, but before I could run, a sound. My stalk eyes swung upwards in response to the noise. Ceiling panels were being pulled up as if they were trapdoors. Hawk-Bajir began to drop like hailstones. I just love that as a mental image, just teeny tiny Hawk-Bajir falling like hail. That's not what they mean, but I love that image. Jake then yells for Marco to deal with Mr. King because they're going to need Rachel's strength to finish this. They dash out into the corridor, and because escalating peril, they hear the sound of Taxons. And they can hear the Vista gloating about his trap worked, he can't wait to turn them all into Yeerk controllers, ha 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 ha. But he does want them alive, so don't fire any lethal Draken beams, guys. Evil laugh again. As all seems lost, the Animorphs go to leap into the nearby elevator when they hear Shredder fire, a distinctly different noise from the Yeerk's chosen weapon of Draken beams. And to everyone's disbelief, including Vista 3's, 4 Andalites jump out of the elevator. Axe starts fighting alongside a young female Andalite who he says has impeccable timing. The Yeerks start losing and they hear the sounds of police sirens. Marco's managed to make it out and now they need to follow suit. Vissa, Prince Jake snapped. Maybe those cops are your people, but maybe not. Walk away and you live, for now. The Vissa doesn't reply, but he does begrudgingly leave. But the new Andalites don't listen to Prince Jake and they jump in front of the Vissa. With the flat of his tailblade, the Vissa smacked the weapon from his assailant's hand. You never could see that one coming, could you, Arbat? Vissa 3 laughed. That's what comes of thinking too much and tail fighting too little. Arbat sounds like a Pokemon name. That's all I want to say on that one. Jake kindly suggests that whoever these Andalites are, they should probably all scarper or they're going to end up dead, or worse. Wait, I cried as the Andalites galloped down what was left of the hall. Who are you? Where can I find you? The female turned. I'm Estrid Coral de Rath. Do not worry, we will find you, Aximile Escaruth Istil. Where do you go once something dramatic like that has happened? Cassie's barn, of course. So they have confirmed that the newspaper, the Chronicle, is in fact a propaganda machine for the sharing and therefore the Yeerks. Axe is confident that now, obviously, the Andalite fleet has arrived, is going to make short work of the Yeerks, this is all going to be over. Hate to break it to you, but there are quite a lot of books left. He's filled with whatever the Andalite equivalent of patriotism is, and the others are understandably a little bit concerned. We have to be realistic, Marco finished. This might be the fleet, or it might be some fresh hell. Place your bets. I'm going for fresh hell. But Axe is adamant the only way that female Andalite would know his name is if she'd heard the message he'd sent back to the homeworld. Or indeed from Andalite forces on Lyra. A few books back, I'll try and remember which one it was and put it here. That is, however, where we learned that Andalites can be traitors, which the Animorphs kindly point out to Axe. But Axe knows, he just knows in his heart of hearts that these are true Andalites sent here to help them. Axe, Cassie said, I think you have what is commonly known as a crush. For the sake of this book, That is correct, but let's just go with that's an unhelpful thing to assume for people. Axe promises he's not going to suddenly run off and follow any other Andalites like he did on Lyra, and gallops home thinking about how lovely that female Andalite was. Axe is practicing his tail-fighting moves on a nearby tree that Tobias is sitting in as the two of them have "we're not technically human" bonding time. Tobias has managed to find some cash and suggests that the two of them go to the mall and do Axe's favourite thing, which is eat Cinnabons. He's in for this. Axe gets to Birdmorph and the two of them fly over there. They grab the clothes that Tobias has hidden on the mall roof, but as they head in, they hear some shouts and screams. They hear a woman yell for security saying some girl has gone berserk and started eating everything in the food court. Sound like anyone we know? They run in, they see a girl, likely Estrid, getting completely overwhelmed by the taste of jelly beans. I mean, I can relate, they are delicious. Tobias hurried forward and put his hand on the guard's arm. "No, wait, she's my sister. She's having a bad reaction to her medication." As Tobias works on getting the guards to let them leave and not, arrest them, Axe heads over to Estrid and tells her that maybe she needs to get herself away from the delicious things in this situation. They make their way towards the door only to run into someone who wants to know exactly where they think they're taking his sister. It's the brother of the girl whose DNA Estrid has acquired. We get it. Estrid hasn't thought ahead enough to do a sort of mixed-up morph like Axe has. Yeah, it's time to run. They manage to make it out there as mole security isn't as tight as Yeerk security, and Estrid agrees to facilitate a meeting between Axe and her sort of superior later on. She flies off, they fly off. We're at the end of that scene. Later on, the Animorphs in designated air and land morphs make their way to the meeting site. They've not quite been trusted with the location of the Andalite ship just yet, but they are on their way. Estrid is waiting for Axe so she can take him to her commander, and she's a little bit annoyed that he brought friends as she did ask him to come alone. "And I told him not to," Prince Jake said in Thoughtspeak, just as he completed his demorph. Estrid is very confused as to how this human has morphing powers, as we know that's a big no-no in the Andalite world, and yet it's probably quite important that Axe speak to her commander. She also privately asks that Axe not mention her little human morph endeavour to her commander, as she doesn't want him to know that she did it. This shocks Axe, because obviously Andalites are very into obedience, but he does agree. They make it to the commander, where 3 Andalite warriors stand watching. Axe is introduced to Commander Gonrod, who is somewhat offended when Axe describes Jake as his prince. And yeah, they realise there is not in fact a whole Andalite fleet here to rescue them, this is just one ship. "Commander Gonrod, Prince Jake is the leader of the human resistance on Earth." "Really? And how many warriors does he lead?" Commander Gonrod asked me. "Not enough," Prince Jake said bluntly. Gonrod knows some things about when the Animorphs were on Lyra and a whole bunch of Andalites died. There's an imbalance of power here. Jake refuses to tell Gonrod how many troops he commands. It's a whole thing. Gonrod doesn't take it very well and calls Jake a man-child, which he's literally a child. I can't with this. Jake decides he's not taking any orders from Gonrod and he walks away. Axe follows Jake despite Gonrod's shouted orders to the contrary. And then Gonrod orders the other warriors, Aloth and Arbat, there we go, to fire their shredders on the lower setting at Axe. However, Aloth and Arbat have both been incapacitated with poisonous snakes wrapped around their legs because the Animorphs have stopped leaving things to chance. Jake demands that Gonrod treat him as an equal and acknowledge that Jake is in charge here. This is his catch. This is Earth, and the Andalites aren't going to treat the humans like they did the Hawk-Bajir. Finally, things calm down a little bit, though it's still not quite been revealed where Rachel and Tobias are, I'll note. And finally, they get into why Gonrod and this merry band of Andalites are here. Arbat steps up to tell the story. After the unexpected victory on Lyra, major elements of the fleet were ordered to Earth, but it was diverted to the Rakam-Garou conflict in the Nine-Sifter system. I want to know who's in charge of prioritising which war the Andalites get involved with at any one time. No fleet, but this is a particular sabotage and assassinate team, led by Gonrod the amazing pilot and Aloth the assassin. Which is news to Axe, who didn't even know that the Andalite military had assassins. "And I am an Apex-level intelligence advisor, veteran of over 20 conflicts," Arbat finished. As someone who has had a lot of nonsense job titles, Apex-level intelligence advisor is a good nonsense job title. And then there's Estrid. Females joining the Andalite military, a bit new, and she got assigned to this by accident. Estrid takes this opportunity to show herself and knocks Axe to the floor, sticking a hoof on his chest. Not helping his crush there, Estrid. She helps Axe up, but then the two of them start fighting again, Aloth and Arbat placing bets on who's going to win. Axe finally manages to beat her after a tough battle, using one of the simplest moves in the Andalite lexicon. If she had been a male, I would have begun to boast, but it seemed less than gracious to boast about beating a female, even one who was very, very good. They are aliens, and also this book came out in 2000. They are aliens, and also this book came out in 2000. They are aliens, and also this book... And this battle has shown Arbat that Axe is a good warrior, and he thinks that the two of them might have a common goal. Visser 3 killed your brother. What Visser 3 did to my brother was worse than death. What did he do? Prince Jake asked. Arbat's face betrayed no emotion. My brother is a Lauren, host body to Visser 3. Bum, bum, bum. And thus their mission is revealed. They are there to assassinate Visser 3. They're back in the barn, chatting things through. Cassie is team vengeance doesn't solve anything. Rachel is team vengeance is justice. Axe notices one of the birds in the barn isn't interested in any seed and just sort of seems to be hanging about in the rafters. It's probably nothing, I'm sure. Axe is feeling all kinds of feelings about this, especially since way back when Axe failed to kill Aloran when he begged Axe to end his life. Oh, it's complicated. The real debate seems to be whether they kill Aloran, thus killing Visser 3, or they let him live in the hope that they might be able to liberate him from the Yeerk inside his head at one point in the future. Something the Animorphs, many of whom have family members who are currently controllers, care quite a lot about. They also have to come to terms with the fact that their plan of hold things at bay until the Andalite fleet turn up is not going to work. The fleet are not coming. I'd been so distracted by Estrid, by seeing my own people again, that I'd overlooked how devastating this news would be to my friends. They had hoped for salvation. Instead, they were presented with another complex problem, more dangers, more futility. I scanned each of their faces with my stalk eyes. These were not the humans I had known for so long. Rachel wants to know the plan. Marco says there's no point having any plan. Earth is doomed. We give up now. Rachel lunges after Marco and starts hitting him. He did hit her first. Tensions are high. Tobias can't handle anymore and flies out of there, which honestly I think I would do as well. It's also definitely not so he can rescue them later, I'm sure. Jake pulls Rachel off Marco and gets them to sort it out. The Andalites are not coming. They just care about the Visser, they don't care about Earth. Rachel has made her choice, no more being nice. If they don't care about Earth, she's gonna cause as much chaos as she can while she goes down. She's fed up with all of them, and breaking a lantern as she goes, she storms from the barn. Cassie's out too, but her reasoning is that she doesn't want to kill any more Hawkbajir if there's no point. Marco thrusts his hands into his pockets. Guess I'm out too. I'm going to enjoy what time I've got left. Acquire a surfer dude chick magnet. Hang out. This leaves just Jake and Axe, the last remaining champions of Earth who aren't Rachel. I can't hold you to your oath. The others are right, it's over. Go on, do what you have to do, and if you can, go home. And then Jake leaves too, thanking Axe for all he's done. Estrid, I said finally, if you're going to acquire Earth morphs, you must learn how to use them. Rabbits do not commonly chase large four-footed creatures like myself across a field and then into a barn full of shouting humans. Yeah, Estrid has been there the whole time. He offers to teach Estrid how to do Earth morphs well, and they leave together, her saying he'll be much happier with his own kind. They fly on over to the Andalite ship, which is in a field not too far from the gardens, helpful for acquiring morphs. They drop through the roof of the ship and demorph. Axe learns that this is a science and technology ship because most of the warships are being used in the war. This is an older ship that they're just sort of using. Axe asks Estrid not to mention to Gonrod that Jake has lost control of his warriors. He doesn't want Jake to look bad. She agrees, which is complex in itself because she shouldn't have agreed. That goes against Andalite behaviour. And yet it does help Axe out, so we're not going to dwell on it too much. Axe is welcomed back into the Andalite fold, having been released from his oath by Jake. Arbat takes him over to the terraced perimeter of the ship and asks if he's willing to do everything he can to defeat the Visser. Of course he is, but why is Arbat, who is of a higher rank than Axe, treating Axe with such deference? He wanted something from me. But what? Axe gets shown around the ship by Aloth, picking up bits and pieces of how the Andalite world has changed in his absence. He also learns that Arbat is technically retired and is now a teacher, but for some reason has been pulled into this mission. Interesting things indeed. Aloth is very confused as to why Arbat wanted a female Andalite on this mission at all. Estrid doesn't seem to be being particularly useful. She's probably here because intergender staffing is some pet project Arbat sold the War Council on, or maybe she's somebody's niece and he got her fast-tracked through the academy. We all know that kind of guy, right? Aloth also tells him that the second tier of the ship is closed off, it's a science lab, but we don't use it, so it's just sealed off to save energy. Don't worry about it, don't think about it too hard, it's probably fine. They also say that this ship doesn't have any defensive measures, so if anyone comes after them, they are toast. Let's just hope that doesn't happen. Let's not plan for that eventuality, let's just hope it goes away. Time for Gonrod to do a debriefing, which is a weird sentence, but I said it anyway. They need to find out where Visser 3 is, and they can't track him in the same way that they tracked Axe, because Axe's DNA was on file, Aloran's was not, because he came from a time before they were doing that. But it's probably a safe bet that he'll be at the next sharing meeting or he'll be at the Yeerk pool. Gonrod is adamant they aren't going to the Yeerk pool, it's too dangerous. They'll plan their sniper mission for the next meeting of the sharing. There's some tension around whether they try and kill as many controllers as possible or just stick to Visser 3. Estrid comes in and tells everyone that she and Axe are going on a tour of the gardens. This goes in the face of all of the hierarchy Axe knows. Estrid seems to be a bit of an anomaly here, but Gonrod is surprisingly not cross about it. Estrid was beautiful, she was a well-trained fighter, but she was no soldier. Who was she? So they're on a nighttime walk through the gardens. Axe is learning all about Andalite culture and where they are now from Estrid. She answers a lot of these questions with Arbat says, which leads him to conclude that she is in fact Arbat's niece. Estrid really wants some more jelly beans, which Axe cannot deliver on, but they do find a vending machine from which Axe pinches some M&Ms. She morphs to human, even managing to morph human clothes, which is something unseen in Animorphs history. And the two of them have a lovely time eating M&Ms together. They have another use for mouths, I said. In addition to eating and making mouth sounds, Yes, would you like to experience it? And yes, they do indeed kiss, deeming it a nice thing, but not nearly as nice as chocolate. The date montage continues with the two of them going on a nighttime flight together. Axe is taking her to see his friends one last time. Unfortunately, from on high, they see a bit of a disaster unfolding at the McDonald's where a grizzly bear is running rampant. The restaurant is managed by a human controller, I answered. I do not know about the other humans. I fear her destruction is indiscriminate. Prince Jake would never have allowed it. They continue watching as Cassie runs out of the restaurant and morphs to Owl. They follow her back to the barn, the two of them land in the rafters. Marco is there, reading a magazine, and Cassie implores him to come and help with the Rachel situation. Marco says no, she's convinced Jake's gonna help her, but then Marco reveals Jake, chilling in a stall, also refusing to help. Axe has seen enough, and the two of them head out. I pity you, Aximile, Estrid said. How did you endure it? How could you bear to live among such inferior creatures? They have fought well in the past, but they are demoralised by the prospect of certain defeats. Estrid says something about Andalites being proud even in defeat, and Axe then comes face to face with the arrogance and the hubris of the Andalites, which he has been told about so many times, but it's hard to see it in yourself. Not so hard to see it in Estrid. As they make their way back towards the ship, Estrid remarks on having seen a similar bird around quite frequently, but Axe brushes it off, saying there are a lot of similar looking birds around here. They get back to the ship. In the meantime, they've gone to see the community centre and Axe draws them a little bit of a map. Axe then offers to take the first watch, which Gonrod accepts, but tells Axe not to touch anything. It's then that Axe remembers something Estrid said while they were eating M&Ms. It would be very difficult to concentrate on a Plint-conarrhythmic equation for more than 2 minutes. This is a kind of biochemical engineering that most Andalites don't pay attention to. So why is Estrid thinking about it if she is just a junior warrior? He uses an access code he saw Estrid use earlier and he pulls up the personnel files on the ship. Or he tries to, but gets locked out and a tail blade against his throat. It is Aloth who is, quite understandably, accusing Axe of spying. Axe says he was just trying to get familiar with the systems again, which Aloth buys enough to put the tailblade down. Aloth slouched against the console. So, it has begun to occur to you that you've fallen in with a bad crowd, eh, brother of Elfangor? I'm simply curious. Aloth offers to tell Axe just what he was doing before he was pulled into this mission, and it turns out he was in prison for selling organs he found on the battlefield. And Gonrod was in prison as well, but this time for cowardice. Yes, they've pulled together something of an Andalite suicide squad. As far as they can tell though, Arbat seems to be legitimate. I did not have anything to say to that, but I had a question. Aloth, who is really in command of this unit? Arbat, Gonrod, or is it you? Aloth laughed again. Sometimes, little Aris. I think it's the female. Cut to the next day, and the plan is going ahead. They're in the park, hovering overhead, watching people go into the sharing meeting. They've even found another entrance to the Yeerk pool by scanning the building. Always useful. They talk through the plan, the final element of which is that Estrid will stay on the ship. She is not happy about this. She initially argues, but then Arbat yells at her, both in person and also, it seems, in private thought speak. Those who are headed on the mission hop out of the ship onto the roof of the community centre. They have to go in Andalite form, which is risky, but it's the only way they can use their shredders. Aloth and Arbat head south, while Axe and Gonrod head at a right angle to them. They take out 2 guards on their way. They can hear the Visith talking to the crowds. Head on up to the 2nd floor, dropping 2 more guards in the process. From on high, Axe has a pretty good view of the Visith, but he opts not to take the shot, as that honour should go to Arbat. Across the room, he sees 3 more controllers drop as the other 2 get in position. They manage to make it in, and they see Visith 3 demorph. This is a meeting of the inner circle, otherwise he'd never let them see him as an Andalite. And as Axe looks on, he knows with certainty in his chest that Arbat is going to miss this shot. He raises his shredder to take aim just as Arbat's shot goes wide and hits the curtains, causing panic in the room. This was an easy shot, and Arbat missed. Aloth fires next, but the Visser has dodged behind the podium. Axe could still make this shot, but he's hesitating. Reinforcements are coming in. Gonrod fires, but misses, almost hitting the Visser's back. It's an intense time. Axe finally fires, but he misses because the Visser is morphing small, having finally realised, as Axe points out, that bigger is not always better. There's character development for the Visser at least. The meeting room is now full of a battalion of Hawk-Bajir who spot Axe and Gonrod almost immediately. Like a cheer squad, the Hawk-Bajir form a pyramid and make their way up to the balcony. Gonrod fires in a panic, but Axe is frozen. Aloth comes running around the balcony, but Arbat and Gonrod are suddenly gone. They run into the corridor, find Arbat, it's all going to be okay. They agree that this mission is a no-go, and they just need to get out of there. Aloth's having a hard time, having been injured, but if they can get him out of here, they might make it out of this okay. Aloth sank to the floor. He was dead, shot cleanly through the head. By Arbat? An accident? No. Impossible. Oh no! Before they have time to dig into that, Estrid thought speaks to them that she's brought the ship down in the playground and opened the ramp. Axe makes a leap for it, they get into the ship as the cloaking falls down, and they're in. They're safe. Gonrod is also on board. The record will reflect that you retreated for strategic reasons in order to allow us to escape, Arbat said as we rocketed upwards. It will also reflect that I terminated Aloth because he was too injured to escape, he added, holding my gaze. Arbat's justification is that they couldn't afford the Yeerks getting another Andalite body, but it's all seeming a little bit dodgy. Arbat seems like he's not doing a great job, which is weird. Why fail such an easy mission like this? But there's no time to dwell on that because Arbat wants Axe to tell him everything about the Yeerk pool. Gonrod is insistent that they aren't attacking the pool, it goes against his orders from the council. Arbat responds that his rank means he can do whatever he wants and screw the council. They land the ship back at the gardens, everyone agreeing that what they need is a little bit of rest. Axe sneaks off the ship and into the air, needing someone with better computer skills than his to crack the code on the ship. He comes back just in time to take over the watch from Gonrod. Mr. King goes back to android form, not keeping up the hologram, because it means he can hack the computer a little bit faster. It does of course increase their risk of being caught, but we make the decisions we make. King gets into the personnel files and Axe asks if he'll look up Aloth first. He was killed in action in some system called Rackham Guru, Mr. King said. A ship called Ralek River. The ship was destroyed. Gonrod's file shows the same ending, that he died there. In fact, all of their files do, except for Estrid, who seems to not be on the system. My hearts began to dull, a sickening thud. The Andalite War Council did not expect the ship to return. The Andalite War Council did not want this ship to return. This ship was on a suicide mission. Did the writers of Suicide Squad read Animorphs? We can only speculate. Axe says goodbye to Mr. King and heads through the ship to try and get some answers. Gonrod isn't in his quarters, but Axe can sense a vibration coming from somewhere on the supposedly sealed second floor. He passes through some kind of force field on the second floor and immediately gets overwhelmed by the stench of death. This is definitely going to go incredibly well. Moving further in, there's the smell of decontaminant, and yes, Estrid is doing some science. She's so stunned to see Axe that she drops the vial she's holding, which Axe catches with his lightning reflexes. Based on her reaction, it would seem that breaking the vial would have been disastrous, but she still doesn't tell Axe what was in it. He uses the age-old, well in that case I can just open it, or you can give me some answers. And whatever's in this vial is dangerous enough that Estrid does indeed agree. She first admits that she never actually attended the Andalite military academy, and the only reason she knows how to fight as well as she does is because she has brothers. She is also not in fact Arbat's niece, but his student at the university. There's a whole backstory. She joined the university, they wanted her to do like female sciencey things and she instead wanted to do that fun biochemical thing that I couldn't pronounce earlier, and she's really good at it. And then she discovered how to make exactly what's in the vial, a prion virus of some kind. It's a programmable deadly virus that could take down the Yeerks. However, as we know with viruses, have a tendency to mutate. I have a very low tolerance for let's create a virus that might accidentally hurt the human race at the moment for obvious reasons, so yeah, the stakes are high. So Estrid and Arbat are actually there to do a cheeky bit of genocide that the War Council cannot be held responsible for. Estrid is adamant that if they can get this to work, not only will they stop the Yeerks, but they'll stop the war everywhere. Estrid, if you are prepared to kill everyone, anyone that opposes you, I asked her, how are you different from the Yeerks? We are Andalites! Estrid, you cannot do this. Yes, she can, said a voice in the doorway. And she will. Yeah, Arbat is here and he's armed and dangerous. Axe takes this opportunity to reveal to Estrid that she has already been wiped from the ship's databanks. Arbat denies this, but Axe continues, telling Estrid she is being used. They needed you, Estrid. They needed a person of your genius to manage the weapon. But you, like Aloth and Gonrod, will never survive. Arbat cannot allow it. Only he can survive. The apex-level intelligent agent who passed himself off as a professor. Why? To find someone like you, Estrid. Arbat confesses that this is in fact true, but he was just doing it to protect her, you, from the judgments of history. People sometimes have to make hard choices, Estrid, and then to prove he's such a nice guy, he locks Axe and Estrid in a cage. But because we're in a classic sci-fi, it's a cage made out of green lasers. He then takes the vial and bogs off. I am sorry. You will die, Estrid, but not in vain. Arbat's thing is, he isn't wholly bad, he's just so tired of being in war that he's willing to end it at any cost. In the laser prison, Estrid confesses that Arbat already knows about the breakdown of Prince Jake's troops. It was him and the weird bird morph in the barn. Yes, I know, I answered. Her stalk eyes whipped around in amazement. You knew? I nodded. We all knew. Or at least suspected. And in comes Marco, letting them know that the ship is indeed literally crawling with Animorphs. Jake instructs Tobias to go out and tail Arbat. Red tail? Tailing? Too much? Okay. And the rest of them are there to talk through the next phase of the plan. I have learned something, Estrid. These are my people. Anyone who believes in freedom, anyone who resists tyranny, anyone who pursues peace is my people. Andalite, Hawkbajir, or human. It was a classic Animorphs long con all along. They make their way to that new entrance at the community centre, guessing that that's Arbat's best chance of getting into the Yeerk pool. They follow in Arbat's wake, finding knocked out controllers as markers of his path, and they are in battle morphs in preparation for what is to come. Tobias has actually managed to lose Arbat, but it's no problem, they can Guess where he went. They get to the door to that Yeerk pool entrance they found and the lock has been broken, which means Arbat is in human morph. They open the door to reveal a staircase going down, at the bottom of which they can hear the familiar screams of the Yeerk pool. They run down the stairs with Estrid telling Axe that she is afraid, and he tells her, so am I. At the bottom of the stairs there's evidence of a Taxxon having fed recently. Let's not dwell on that too much, let's keep going. The humans demorph as they'll be the least suspicious in the Yeerk pool, and then the Andalites go to human morph. What natural weapons do these human bodies have? Estrid asked. Unless you've eaten a lot of beans. None, Marco said. Is this the time for that kind of joke? Who am I to say? It's in there. They head down into the pool where Estrid witnesses firsthand the true horror of the Yeerk pool complex. How to spot Arbat? Well, he'll presumably be making his way straight for the pier, but he'll also be the one who is least comfortable in a human morph because he hasn't had any practice. How do they spot that? Well, Andalites can turn their head in all directions, and he won't be used to not being able to do that, so they need to find someone who's turning their head a lot. They spot who they reckon is Arbat based on that criteria. It's not 100% sure, but it's quite likely. Estrid shouts out for Arbat as he goes to reach into his pocket, and it's enough to knock a Hawk-Bajir guard off balance. Arbat grabbed the guard's Draken beam from his holster with one hand and shoved the off-balance Hawk-Bajir off the pier. Arbat spun, raised his weapon and aimed. Axe tackles Estrid to the floor just in time to stop her from being shot. Unfortunately, the shot does hit a Taxxon, which then explodes over the two of them. Jake calls for everyone to get into battle morphs, and Axe distracts them from the humans demorphing part of it all by shouting, "Look! Andalites over there!" in the opposite direction. This works. Typical Yeerk pool, end of the book, chaos. Axe grabs Estrid, pulls her into a corner and tells them they need to demorph to Andalite form. She is too scared. And after all, maybe she managed to fix the virus, maybe it won't mutate to hurt humans, maybe it's all fine. Axe is unconvinced, he's heading out there, this is not worth the risk. I was half demorphed. Stay here, I said. Stay low, do not move. Do not leave me! Estrid, you are beautiful, you are brilliant, but I really do not think I like you very much. Me had a lot of past boyfriends. It's a lot of a mess. Analyte chaos, Yeerk pool. At one point the humans in cages form a shield to stop them seeing them. It's very wholesome, but also kind of tragic. There are Animorphs who are incredibly injured. They see Arbat running away. Jake tells Axe to go after him, even though Axe is loath to leave his friends behind. Axe is chasing after him, but Arbat's hand is over the Yeerk pool with the vial in hand. Just as Arbat goes to end humanity as we know it, his hand is shot off by a Draken beam, fired by none other than Estrid, who got her stuff together. Now what? Estrid asked me. I nodded towards the shore, where part of the force besieging my friends peeled off to come roaring after us. Now we die, I said. But we die as honourable Andalite warriors. Estrid instructs Axe not to let them take her alive, which is an intense instruction, but an understandable one. Arbat, who is still alive, doesn't side with his friends and instead claims to be a controller, and suddenly there's a red light coming from above and the Yeerk pool starts to bubble. Gonrod is above in the ship and he is firing the ship down at the Yeerk pool. He's fired all the way through the ceiling to the Yeerk pool and he's here to rescue them. Gonrod to the rescue. They get Estrid on the ship. Arbat tries to get on the ship as well, but Axe tells him, no, you can't. If Arbat demorphed to Andalite, thus revealing he was not a controller, he might have been fine, but his arm is bleeding a lot, and there's nothing more tempting to Taxxons than the smell of fresh blood. Oof, it's an intense time, but they make it out alive. Cut to the post-battle scene. They're at the mall, and Cassie and Rachel go to get a cinnamon bun for Estrid to take back on the ship. Estrid asks Axe if he'll come back to Andalite space with her, but he refuses. His fight is here. Cassie put her arm around my shoulder. It is a human gesture of comfort. You okay? She asked. Why wouldn't he be? Marco said. You heard him. He didn't even like her. Cassie said nothing, but squeezed me a bit tighter. Cassie is not easily deceived. And in the last emotional moments of the book, Tobias says that in order to get through to the Yeerk pool, he had to instruct Gonrod to burn through the McDonald's. If they want to go and get a burger, they're gonna have to go somewhere else. We walked along the dark streets, my friends and I, my more than friends. We laughed, so relieved to simply be alive. We joked. Cassie held my hand, and in the darkness, where no one could see, I cried. Oh... The emotional damage of this book. We continue to be in a less than fun section of the books. I don't know what it is. We're just having some emotional times dealing with some of our traumas and creating whole new ones. I don't know what's going on really. If you would like to talk more about the plot of this book or what's been going on or where you think we might go in the coming weeks, you can check out the Animorphs channel on my Discord, which is linked in the description, as is my Twitter if you want to follow that as well. If you are a patron, you are getting this early. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you would like to join their number and get early access to Animorphs videos and more, that is also in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Welcome to Animorphs August. We're going to have a wonderful time together. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one, which will be Animorphs 39. It's gonna be some bloopers now. The controls are angry. Not helping his crush there, Estrid.